welcome. Got a hive inspection today, so we're going to do both of them. 10 new frames are going to be going on this one. I have a feeling that they're taking in about 9 out of the 10 frames inside of this box here. So we want to give them some more room. If we don't give the bees room, they're going to create some swarm cells, queen cups, and they're going to try and swarm. That's how insects, or that's at least how honeybees reproduce. So we're going to do that today. Top off the feeders, check on the big hive, see if they're drawing out the comb on the second box. That one's been the stronger hive. So we're going to see how that goes. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I have these straps on it, just ratchet straps. It's probably overkill. The bees will actually produce a propolis, which is almost like a sappy type material to hold everything together. I'm a little bit nervous about it, and if there was a heavy storm, something like that, I just don't want to come down here and realize that the hive was tipped over. So we're going to open everything up. I like to set the lid down here, and what that does is it gives me a little bit of work area, and as my smoker gets warm, I can also sit it on there so it doesn't melt or cause a fire. So we'll take a look here. Inner cover. Again, we have that little bit of a vent area with the 2 vent holes, and see a little bit of ants in there. That's no big deal. Again, that's probably just where I dripped some of the syrup. So that's where the frames are going to go in there. I'm going to get that all prepped before we go. But you can see this hive is actually starting to eat the sugar water much more frequently. This means that they're probably becoming a stronger hive. So I'm going to take these frames, and I re-waxed all these frames just like my previous video. We'll just set these all in here. All right, so what I want to do here, now that we're going to get in, actually take a look at the bees, give them a little bit of smoke on the outside here. Doesn't do a ton, but it just kind of gets that smoke in the air, calms them down a little bit. So I'm going to take the feeders off. You can see they're all still feeding on there. We'll set this aside, take this one off, and I can hear just a little bit of a tone coming from them. They just know that I'm kind of messing around with them a little bit. So at this point, give them a little bit more smoke. Not a ton. The other thing I'm going to do, I have these pollen paddies set out. We'll show you how much each one of those is. A 1 pound pollen paddy. Each hive got one of those. We'll see where they're at, but I think that they're going to need to have it re-upped. All right. Take a look, see if you guys see the queen on there at all. And there's the pollen patty that was. You can see how much they ate. So I'm going to take this. Again, look for the queen. Unlikely she would be on here, but you always want to make sure, especially with a hive that's starting to get more and more full. So Matt, if you want to get close here, what I'm liking that I'm seeing is I'm seeing bees inside of here, 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 all the way over. So we're going to pull it out. These are the medication strips that I talked about. That's for the mite control that are in there. So that's what those are. Still recording, Matt?
Yes.
All right. So if you guys remember when I put these frames in, you can see they're putting a bunch of nectar, which is probably the sugar water in that, and a little bit of pollen. You see the yellow there. So that is exactly what I want to see. So I'm going to take this frame. You see checking for the queen. Last time she was kind of far over, and we have a whole bunch of comb here. Once it gets drawn out far enough, she may end up moving over. But you can see this is the outermost frame, and they're starting to build that out. So we got to give them some room here soon. We'll set this frame down carefully. Now again, this is one of the frames that and it's heavy. So I can tell you right now, I have a feeling there's a lot of stored, yep. So this is all the honey and the pollen that they're bringing in. I don't see any eggs in here. I'm looking at the bottom there, making sure that that's not a queen cup, which it's not. But this is where they're storing a lot of that stuff. If you see on top there, they're actually starting to store a little bit of either the nectar or some honey. You can see where they're capping it off. So I want to make sure, as I come down here, give them a little bit more smoke as they start to get a little riled up. It's a cloudy day, not the best conditions, but definitely not too bad to work with bees. Okay. That's really good because I have to do a little bit of cleanup on these. Just want to make sure that my queen is not around on there. So that is some capped brood, and that's some new drawn out. You see some honey on the outside. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup here. All right, so we went through that. We had to scrape off some just comb that they built on the bottom, just kind of really cleaning up the hives a little bit. Everything's looking good. We found the queen, but I actually needed Matt's hand, so I didn't get a whole lot of video on that. We'll get some over here. The main purpose for today, though, was to put this box on there. This box now has frames. So, Paige, you want to help me with this?
Yeah.
All right, so what we need to do is match up the corners. No, over here, Paige? Okay, so let me know if your corner matches up on that other corner down here. Okay, and then what we need to do, Paige, we can't have these big gaps in here. Otherwise, what the bees will do is they'll build comb. So what we want to do is have them nice and tight in there, and that creates the good bee space. Bee space is the area that the bees will work, and they won't build honeycomb or burr comb in there. And that's why the Langstroth hive was built for that way. So the gap in between the two boxes, the gaps that they can go around, is considered the bee space. So we just gave them that. When we saw everything, there's a ton of brood in here, but they're also running out of room. There's also one frame on this other side that was a lot of nectar and honey and pollen. And if the queen doesn't have room to lay, they'll become honey bound, and then they'll want to swarm. So I think we caught it in time. All right, Matt, if you want to slowly pan over, you can get that hive there. So this one, I'm going to let sit like this for a couple days. I have some new boxes that I just stained. I want to give the stain some time to air out and to really get rid of all toxins that may be on it. So eventually this will have a protective cover on it as well. But for now, even though it's it's plywood on here and it's not going to be weather resistant, these are just for feeders, and they'll be able to get protected soon. So this will stay just like this for now. Gonna head over here. We'll pop this lid off. Again, this is what's considered an outer cover. It's just basically a weather protectant. This is what's considered an inner cover. That's again so that you can pop this off and your bees don't build the burr comb and everything in between there. It also protects a little bit for any sort of invasives. So what I'm seeing here right away is that this hive is starting to slow down eating the sugar water, which means that with this nicer weather, there might be some nectar starting to come in, which is a good thing. They prefer nectar over sugar water, and the bees tell you when they're done eating it. So we'll keep it here, but if you remember just a couple days ago, they were going through 2 of these jars every other day. So we'll take this off. And there's still some bees that are feeding on there. Paige, could you set this jar on that cover? Good job. Paige is already getting much more comfortable working around the bees, which is really cool. So now if you remember, we want to give a little bit of smoke, let them know, hey, we're here, calm them down a little bit. And then we'll take, get underneath here, and I can tell you already, they're starting to use the propolis to stick down a lot of the material. So our goal here, before I even open it up, is to see that they're starting to build the comb out. All of the frames that were put in here had nothing on them outside of the wax that I put on there. So let's see here, and this is a really good sign. We'll check for the queen. Again, I would be highly surprised if she'd be up here, but based on the amount of bees here, I'm thinking that we might see some drawn out honeycomb. So we'll start from the outside as always, give ourselves some room. And the bees like to build from inside out. So I can see already on this frame, they're just starting to draw that out. We'll set this one down. This one is drawn out much further. Man, Paige, just be careful with that, okay? I like that you're getting into this, Paige. All right, Matt, if you want to come over here, I'll show you what a drone looks like. So one thing that often gets confused for a queen is a drone breed. A drone is a male. This one right there, if you get real close and you look at its eyes, right at the tip, this one doesn't even have a stinger. Male bees don't even have stingers. So as he goes through, and he's much bigger. So sometimes people will see that and think that's the queen. That's not a queen. You can tell by the eyes and by the size. All right, so now as we start to get further in here, Paige, leave that sit there for now. Oh, look at that. They are really drawing that out. Let's see if there's any eggs in there. There's not yet. It hasn't been drawn out too far.
What do you mean eggs?
Okay, so we saw now the top box. A lot of it is nectar, honey, pollen, which is good. Eventually, we want them to keep drawing that comb out. The queen will move up there. So now we're going to take this box off. So we're going to go underneath, move it, and I'm just going to use the box. You can see, again, the population on this hive is really, really strong. Excuse me, Paige. So this is what's left of that 1 pound pollen patty that we have. So we're going to give them another one. So we're giving them a little bit of, and this hive historically has been a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but they're really starting to mellow out. Which means that I think they're probably pretty happy with how things are right now. So, we'll give a little bit of an inspection here. Excuse me, Paige. Okay, so you can see here, they didn't draw out anything on this frame. Starting to draw out real nice over here. Gave ourselves a little bit of room. Again, this is the medication strip. As the bees rub on that, it has a medication on it that prevents or that kills off the mites. It's a varroa mite, and there's a lot of information on those, but they're not fun. All right. So what do I see here? That might be a queen cup. Not overly concerned about that per se.
Ooh, that's a lot
Wow.
of honey.
Okay. This is an absolutely gorgeous frame. Down on the page, can you point to that really bumpy stuff? You don't have to touch it, just point to it for everyone. That's drone brood. So that's the male brood. Again, it's normal. You want to just kind of pay attention to it, but take a look at this side right here. That is all capped brood, and that's all going to be some bees. So again, they're getting ready to go nuts, and I'm seeing a whole nother frame. My goodness. Paige, step back a little bit for me.
Okay.
That queen. She might be nearby, but I don't see a whole lot of eggs. All right, so I did not see the queen in this hive, but there is all kinds of brood, which you saw. We're gonna give them a pollen patty. I'm hoping that as those new bees hatch out, they're gonna consume a lot of that honey that's in there. The queen will move up and down throughout. This is called the brood chamber, the brood boxes. In the Midwest, as fall comes and we start to overwinter, we want to have a lot of this full of bees because as they cluster, that's what keeps them through the winter. So this hive is looking really good. I'm going to pay attention to the sugar water. We're going to give them 2 fresh jars and close them up. And at this point, outside of putting a lid on that one, we're just going to kind of let them be, if you will, for a period of time and just kind of let them work. We're going to stop messing with it a little bit. I scraped a lot of the different additional on the bottoms of the frames, a lot of the comb off. All right, so Paige, I'm gonna ask you a question. Let's quiz you, okay? Everyone is watching. There's almost 200 people in the Facebook group, and so you need to let them know to subscribe, and then 2, how many frames are in each hive box?
10.
Nice. So there's 10. Now, if you remember, in the nucleus colonies, there was 5. They make hives that have 8 frames. 10 is just the number for this size here. A lot of it has to do with weight management. So if I wanted to put another one of these boxes on top and have that be for honey, that's great, but it can weigh a lot. I mean, probably close to over 100 pounds if that whole thing is full of honey. What I'll be putting on here is called honey supers. They're the medium boxes. So it's a little bit smaller, and that's just so as we handle them, hoping that we get honey, they're not going to be as heavy. So let's put the lid on here. Oh, Paige, could you hand me that pollen patty? It's the brown thing right there.
Oh,
Perfect. Yep. So this is a synthetic pollen, actually. It's through Bee Pro. Hopefully this gets a lot of the bees to come up to the top. We already put our medication strips back in there. We'll put this, and then Paige, could you hand me another full jar of the syrup? All right, so this is a full jar. Make sure it's tight. Let it drain out, create that suction so it doesn't free flow into the hive. Press that on. Can you hand me another full one? All right. And the best thing about honeybees is that there's not a whole lot of maintenance outside of what we did. This took about maybe a half hour, and now we wait a few days. We'll check the feed, which again, I think they're starting to slow down. And at that point, you let bees do what they do. Manage them, make sure that they're looking strong, give them what they need. But it's pretty stress-free. So if any of you are actually looking to get into it, by all means, it's really cool, really fun. Paige, you want to do the whole thing like your videos say, where you can say like the like and subscribe type thing?
I don't remember.
You don't remember it? All right. Well, we have a YouTube channel and a Facebook page. Like and subscribe to that.
Yep.
It's kind of cool. We get to track that down, and it's fun to kind of watch how it grows out. I'm not looking to sell anything. I'm not looking to do anything outside of documenting my hobby. So if you're interested in this, We'll just kind of keep showing you, ask questions, whatnot. I don't have all the answers, but I'll find them out. Thank you.
Like and subscribe to our channel.
It's called Z's Bees. Like and subscribe, and we'll try to keep content coming at least on a weekly basis. See ya.